Did you hear about Langham, and how did that become part of the picture for you?
Well, I think every Christian in the sort of third world who wants to do PhD, gets to hear of Langham. Yeah, but getting a Langham scholarship is another thing.
I mean, one of the things that we're also looking at is how we can better support the scholars that we have here in this country. And do you think there is a way that churches where scholars are could be more involved and support practically, or just give them those kind of emotional friendship structures as well that would help their time here? Are there ways that the church could do that?
Yeah, I suppose it's different for every scholar, and everyone has different set of needs. How should I? Well, for me, I think the support that I'm receiving from Langham, and what Langham has done through the churches too, like they've arranged, for example, Jonathan Lamb and the others, they have arranged lunch for us at St. Andrews, and brought people from St. Andrews around us, and introduced us to those people. So those are quite good enough for me. It may not be enough for someone else, but I'm very happy with that.
Okay, that's good. Talking about focusing on your studies and things, your thesis, can you just tell us what it is and why you've chosen it? It sounds an incredibly interesting topic.
It is, and incredibly difficult, as all PhD theses are. Well, my thesis is, I started off by asking the relation basically between forgiveness and justice, and also reconciliation. Our reconciliation and forgiveness are the same thing? And if forgiveness, what happens to the question of justice? And I asked that question basically because of my own personal experience and what I and my family have gone through back in Nagaland. I don't know if I should be saying this, but anyway, I think I will. It's not. My mother's father was killed in 1956 by nationalists who were fighting for independence for Naga independence from India. Then in 1992, my father's brother was killed by another nationalist group. 1996, my father's second brother was killed. Yeah. So at least for my family, I know at least 3 people.
So you've lost 2 uncles and a grandfather.
Yeah. Now, I remember 1992, when my first uncle was killed. He was a political leader. He was my father. He declared during the funeral. He declared, and in our culture, my father was being the head of the family. When he said something, he speaks for the family. So on behalf of the family, he said that the family forgave the perpetrators. 1996, his second brother was killed, and I knew my father was going to say the same thing. So I went up to my father before the funeral and I said, "You are not going to forgive these people." Yeah. And I was a Christian then, but my father said, "But what else could I do as a follower of Christ if I do not forgive?" But the question that was triggered in my mind was, okay, these people have not repented. There hasn't been any judicial redress. Perpetrators have not been caught. And here we are declaring forgiveness. What happens to the question of justice? So that is something that that was many years back. Yeah.
Okay.
Choosing to do politics instead of war itself involves a certain measure of forgiveness. You know, for example, if you and I we are fighting and killing one another, and then we come to a point where we say, okay, this is not leading us anywhere. Let's talk. Let's negotiate. Let's compromise. Bring your points to the table. I will bring mine. And so we start doing politics. Now, we will not be able to do that until and unless we are, whether we use the word forgiveness or not, unless we are forgiving.
Yes.
And that is a proposal that I want to make for the Naga case too.
Right.
Yeah. And interestingly, I'm using Northern Ireland as a comparator for my work. And I would want to argue, and I think this is original even for Northern Ireland, I would want to argue that what happened with the Good Friday Agreement and the peace process, fragile as it is, I would want to see that as a process of forgiveness. When Ian Paisley and Martin McGuinness chose to work together, they did not say, I forgive you, I repent, and let's be reconciled. They did not use those terms as such, but they would not have been willing to work together unless they were in some way forgiving.
Yes. So do you have a definition that you work to when you say forgiveness?
Yeah.
What is your definition of forgiveness?
Now, initially I started off by thinking, okay, that I knew what forgiveness was, and with a predefined understanding of forgiveness, and I thought I could apply that and say, do this. But I'm realizing that it is a very, you really cannot predefine what forgiveness is. And in fact, I think defining forgiveness too tightly and too rigidly can itself be used as, as a tool for unforgiveness and non-forgiveness and for an unforgiving spirit.
Yeah.
One of the reasons why it does not, it is not known, is because it is not long war. It is low intensity, but it's there, and then you get, every now and again it will just come on. But in terms of being affected, life being affected, and again this is similar to Northern Ireland, because the whole society is permeated with this, culture of, even if you're not out fighting and killing one another, like let's say in Rwanda or Bosnia, you have this culture of suspicion, resentment, bitterness. Then there's paramilitary groups, like in Northern Ireland, involved in a culture of extortion, which they would call taxation, because and so businesses are affected, individuals are affected, Then, so, and we don't have, because of the political instability, we don't have investments coming in. People are not willing to come and invest, because it's just not stable. So high level of unemployment, lack of opportunities. Now, when you have that, and people are frustrated, then you have drug addiction, alcoholism, then add in the HIV/AIDS, thing, and then you have time bomb.
Yeah.
That's just thinking. Obviously, I've painted a very bleak picture, but it is, but that's. I'm afraid that's the way it is. It's not very bright. Yeah.
Okay.
And yet I want to go back.
Yes. And you miss it.